U.S. President Donald Trump's administration's confused response to the Hong Kong crisis risks emboldening Beijing. In June, Hong Kongers began demonstrating against a proposed extradition bill that threatens the territory's autonomy. Opposition to this proposal was so strong that at its peak 2 million people were on the street, roughly one-third of the population. In response, the Hong Kong government suspended the bill, but did not fully withdraw it, a measure that was not good enough for many. This face-saving fudge, alongside the government's general ineptitude and police brutality perpetrated under its watch, has led to weeks of demonstrations. As the dispute went on, the list of demands from this leaderless movement grew. Most want an inquiry into the police's behavior, others amnesty for those arrested. There were calls for Hong Kong Chief Executive Carrie Lam, Lin Zhengyue to step down, and the demand for democratic reform was renewed. All of this from a people who have experienced little but disappointment since the umbrella movement in 2014. Their determination should be applauded, as it has been by members of the U.S. Congress, who have also warned Beijing that the world is watching to see how it responds. The U.S. Department of State, too, has remained reliably resolute. Meanwhile, in recent months, U.S. Secretary of State Mike Pompeo and U.S. Vice President Mike Pence have warmly welcomed leading pro-democracy figures to Washington. Yet Trump's remarks have bordered on the facile, from calling the protests a very tough situation, to saying "I just hope it gets solved," not to mention the praise he has heaped on Chinese Communist Party (CCP) General Secretary Xi Jinping via Twitter. In dangerous times, as armored Chinese paramilitary vehicles move along the Shenzhen-Hong Kong border, the U.S. must show resolve, instead of appearing confused. Worse still, on August 1, the U.S. president told the press, "Something is probably happening with Hong Kong, because when you look at, what's going on, they've had riots for a long period of time. And I don't know what China's attitude is." Somebody said that at some point they're going to want to stop that, but that's between Hong Kong and that's between China, because Hong Kong is a part of China. They'll have to deal with that themselves. They don't need advice. This is problematic for several reasons, one of the most objectionable being that it buys into the CCP's line that what happens in Hong Kong is its business alone. This is not the case. The US has interests in the territory, and not just commercial ones. Safeguarding democracy and human rights has been, when the country is at its best, a core goal of U.S. foreign policy. After all, it was Republican Party darling and former U.S. President Ronald Reagan who said that the U.S. has an obligation never to let those who would destroy freedom dictate the future course of life on this planet. Clearly, this lofty 1980s idealism is a far cry from the current America First agenda, whereby trade trumps most other considerations. According to Politico, angling to improve his trade deal, Trump promised Xi that he would not condemn the Chinese government over a crackdown during a telephone call in mid-June. If true, this would explain the mixed messages coming from the White House and the rest of the administration in recent months. Let's block ads.